All right, episode 4 is in the bag, and it's another solid character development episode, mostly focused on Lucy's brother Norm, as well as Lucy and the ghoul. Um, there's quite a bit of like backstory here with what's going on with the vaults. It's interesting. I don't want to spoil anything before the fold, so if you haven't watched the episode yet, pause, go back, watch it, and then come back and we'll discuss things from here. But everything after this point, there will be spoilers because we're doing the whole episode, so you've been warned. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go. Probably my favorite part of the episode is when the ghoul and Lucy are having that confrontation, um, and she bites his finger off, and then he like is sitting there, look at her, and he just picks up her hand, takes the knife, cuts her finger off, and he's like, I think this is the first time we've had a real conversation, like something along those lines. It's like he's, but it's very interesting because he's been dragging her through the wasteland on his way to get vials of whatever substance it is that he's ingesting to stay from converting into one of the crazy ghouls, and he's not letting her drink any water and everything else. And she eventually gets to the point where there's irradiated water in this thing, and she gets down on her hands and knees and she's slurping it up, and he's like, there you go, there's the real you finally coming out. And he tells her, he's like, you and I are the same, I've just been out here longer, and it's like that's a very disturbing anecdote for what is Fallout. It's the survival of the wastelands. um, so that kind of is the driving point, is that I think the scientist guy, I forget his name, he'd asked Lucy the same question. He's like, are you even going to be the same person? Like, when you change, are you still going to want the same things that you wanted when you first came out of the vault? So when you first came out, you were this wide-eyed, naive, thought the world was this way, but then you experienced the world the way it is. Is that obviously it's going to change you, but is that also going to change the things that you're motivated to do, or the way in which you go about them? So everything about this is saving her father for her. Now, Norm, on the other hand, starts digging into things. He gets a warning from the really old lady who's on the council. She's like, you better just, you need to stop and just play it cool. Just be careful. Smart kids like you um, get into problems. Now, what I don't, I'm a little miffed because supposedly they've been underground for 200 plus years, but the way she said something, the old black lady who's on the council, she's like, smart boys, like, I forget the exact wording, but she's like, smart boys. She said something about like normal kids, when they get angry they just pee on the wall. She said smart boys like you do things to get into trouble, and then she makes a passing comment about how something along the lines of, thankfully you can't get into as much trouble as you would have been able to get into back then, as if she had lived it. And I'm a little like miffed by why she would say something like that. Or is she just a scholar and she knows more about the times before? Because that was 200 years ago. They've been living underground for 200 years, so I'm not sure what the reference there is. But Norm decides to take the big dude who was the guardian on the gate who helped Lucy escape, and they go investigating what happened in Vault 32, because one of the things that Norm does is he's delivering cake to the prisoners, and he manages to lure one of the guards away, and he has a small conversation with one of the raiders, and they're like, we didn't, whatever happened in Vault 32, it wasn't us, they were already dead when we got there. So that prompts Norm to go exploring with his buddy, the guardian guy, who helped Lucy escape, and they go down to 32, and all the crops are barren, which he had seen before when he ran down there. And he's like, look, man, this is proof. Whatever happened here happened a long time ago. They find bodies. Last lifetimes were 2 years ago. It appears most of them were basically suicides, but some of them were not. But even the overseer had like choked himself with a big smile on his face, and apparently they all lost their mind. And he found some tapes of like a television talking about cannibalism, so something went down in that vault, which was not that far, I mean, technically connected to theirs, because there's 31, 32, 33, they're all connected in this trilogy of vaults. So it's weird how theirs was affected, but I think it was because of the the blight per se, not necessarily anything other. I don't know if there was another nefarious experiment that went on, but with the blight, there was the television commentary was showing rats and talking about how when rats are starving, they'll start to eat each other, and it was like, ooh, that's a sign of what happened here probably. In the continuing investigations, they're trying to figure out like, well, how could the raiders have gotten inside? There's no way for them, and as they continue to investigate, Norm finds out through the machines that the doors were open from the outside, and that's impossible without a Pip-Boy. And he starts researching, and he finds out that they used his mom's Pip-Boy. Well, how did his mom's Pip-Boy get out there? So there's layers upon layers upon layers of storylines here, because if I'm not mistaken, Lucy had said earlier that her mother had starved to death. So I'm curious how her Pip-Boy got out into the outside for someone to use it to get in. I don't know. Wheels within wheels, man. That's really it. There's no Maximus this particular episode. It was all focused on Norm and what he's investigating, and then Lucy, what she's going through with the ghoul. Now, eventually, they get to the point where they arrive at the destination, this big warehouse, where quick commercial break, everyone, to celebrate and give thanks to all of these amazing people who keep me on the air full time. Really appreciate the support. All you got to do is join as a member. You get access to private videos. You can also do super thanks on any upload or super chats and stickers on any live stream or premiere you see. And beyond that, don't forget we're multi-streaming over on Twitch now, so you can support over there as well. Thanks so much to everybody. Let's get back to the video at hand. The ghoul gets his vials, or at least gets vials from this one place. And inside, basically, he sells Lucy to them for 2 months worth of vials. And she goes in and realizes she's going to be harvested by this robot. She manages to get out and hijacks things and turns it back on the two dudes who live there, basically just these two stoner dudes. And she forces the guys to let all the ghouls out that they've got in cages. Many of them still are sane, and there's one that's like, "Thank you," and I could swear it's Todd in a mask doing it. The voice sounded just like Todd. I have not looked up to confirm if that was a Todd cameo, but it sounded like Todd. And then along with the good ghouls, she releases some bad ghouls. There's a fight. She ends up winning, and then Lucy bookends this episode with this discussion with the ghoul, because the ghoul is laying there near death, needing one of his vials, and she basically gives him a bunch of vials, and she says, "I may eventually end up looking like you, but I will never be you. The golden rule, motherfucker." She finally curses for the first time, which you can tell that's she's already, she's drinking the water, she's killing, the wastelands are affecting her. She's no longer, because when she first shows up, I forget what she says. She says something like "holy fudge" or something, or "mother fudger." It was really funny. Anyway, so she saves his life. He goes in and he's reveling in, all this stash. And in the midst of this, he comes across some films that that these guys were watching. And one of those films happened to be him from the television show, and it was him in the moment when he became the bad cop, the bad sheriff, and shot the guy. And it's sort of a recollection for him as it fades to black. So definitely this is more of a character development story with a little bit of lore and backstory of what's going on with the vaults, as opposed to moving the dad storyline or the Maximilian Max storyline. So great episode. Again, very happy with where we're going with this. We're halfway through, 4 more to go. Can't wait to see the next one. Like, subscribe, hit the bell icon. Don't forget to check out the links below to the other episodes in the playlist, and I'll see everybody in the next one. Stay safe and happy watching.